Charlie Kirk has been shot and killed while giving a speech at Utah Valley University. And here's the thing. I didn't agree with much, if anything, of what Charlie Kirk ever said. But disagreement isn't a death sentence. Nobody deserves to be executed for their opinions. Not Charlie, not anyone. Let's start with the facts. Charlie Kirk was on stage, speaking, when a sniper shot him from a rooftop with a bolt-action rifle. Authorities have recovered the weapon and have released footage of a suspect fleeing the scene. They have now arrested somebody, but we'll get onto that. This was a deliberate act. It was planned, it was calculated, and I need to say this clearly. This wasn't a protest. This wasn't activism. This was an assassination. Political violence. And when political violence enters the public stage, democracy itself is under threat. And like I said, police have arrested a 22-year-old man named Tyler James Robinson. Investigators have linked him through surveillance footage, Discord messages, and he allegedly confessed. And there were casings that recovered that matched the recovered rifle. He's now charged with aggravated murder, which in Utah can carry the death penalty. So that gives us a suspect, but it doesn't change the meaning of what happened. Already I'm seeing the blame game online. Some people are calling this the left's fault. It's not. Just like 9/11 wasn't the fault of all Muslims, this isn't the fault of all progressives. One person pulled the trigger. One person chose violence. That's who's responsible. When we start blaming entire groups for the actions of one person, we don't fix the problem. We fuel the same cycle of division that led to this in the first place. Collective blame has never healed anything. It just creates more fear, more hate, and more excuses for violence. Here's the uncomfortable truth. He was divisive. He said things that upset people. He built his career on it. And I get it. Some people hear this and they'll feel a rush of satisfaction. Like, well, this is harmful things, so maybe this is just desserts. But well, no. It's not justice. That's vengeance. And when vengeance becomes our standard, none of us are safe. Disagreement is not war. Disagreement is democracy. The moment we decide that words should be answered with bullets, democracy dies. We don't have to like what someone says, but we have to defend our right to say it. That's the whole principle of free speech. It's the cornerstone of any free society. And if we abandon that, we're in trouble. It's easy to talk about Kirk as a brand, a personality, a political figure, but he was a person, he was a husband, he was a father. And right now, there are people grieving whose lives have been shattered. That's real. That's human. We can't afford to lose sight of the humanity. Even when we couldn't stand his politics. Because the moment we stop seeing people as people first, then we've already crossed a dangerous line. This shooting isn't just about one man. It's a warning about where we're heading. Political violence doesn't start with bullets. It starts with dehumanisation. We're treating people not as people we disagree with, but as enemies we must destroy. And when you're adding a culture that thrives on outrage, algorithms that reward anger, and politicians who profit from division, you get a society where violence starts to feel inevitable. But it isn't inevitable. It's a choice. A choice we make every time we decide whether to disagree with someone or to dehumanize them, whether to argue with their ideas or to attack their existence. So, what do? We argue with ideas, not identities. We hold people accountable with facts, not fists. And when violence shows up, we call it what it is. Wrong. Every single time. Because if this can happen to Charlie Kirk, it can happen to anyone who steps onto a stage. Left, right, or anywhere in between. And if we start living in fear of speaking, then the loudest voices won't be the bravest. They'll just be the most violent. So no, it's not the left's fault. It's not the right's fault. It's the shooter's fault. And the line has to stay there. Because if we let bullets replace words, democracy dies piece by piece. We can disagree. We can argue. We can push back against people like Charlie Kirk, loudly and passionately. That's the whole point of free speech. But the moment that we accept violence as a solution, well, we've lost the very thing that makes disagreement possible in the first place. Charlie Kirk didn't deserve to die. And if we're serious about protecting the future, we have to stand against violence, no matter who it targets, and no matter how much we disagree with them in life. Now, I'm Dan the Half-Ton Man, and they might not agree with some of the things that I say, but I feel safe knowing that I can say them, and I shouldn't fear what can happen. If we agree with it, if we disagree with it, whatever, let's just take a moment to remember that a man's lost his life. Children have lost a father. A wife has lost her husband. It doesn't matter left, right. We're all people. Now, like, subscribe, share, comment. We can do this. I'll see you in the next one.